Okay, so let's start this video off with me kind of talking about it's going to be a tier list for starting off with what items you should use to find the ghost. So each item will be tiered, and then I'll explain in what item sets after this they can be good. But basically, this is going to be the first part, and it's going to kind of give you an idea of where all the items are on the tier list are. And I need to add a tier below. So not used. I think this tier is actually kind of there. I misspelled usable. I didn't even see that. There. So, first things first. Photocam. I think it's pretty good for finding the ghost. Um, basically, you can, if you think you heard the ghost, then you can take, in like a nearby area, you can take a photo of something and check if that's the case. Usually it's not useful otherwise, but it kind of helps to narrow down the area for the most part, unless you get certain ghost types, which kind of have a really wide area. So, like phantoms, wraiths, mimics, I think are the three ghosts that you can't rely on the photo cam based on certain things that you think might have happened. So, yeah. Like, it's good. It serves a double purpose this way, but other than that, it's not really useful otherwise. Candle, I'm going to put in great. It basically requires the ghost to be near you for you to actually find the ghost room, which is the only issue. So, other than that, the candle is good, though it also serves the purpose of keeping your sanity high. So, yeah. Summoning circle, not usable for it. Uh, don't bother with ghostwriting book because you have to place it. Like, unless you're a VR player, in which case it goes to like usable, but only just barely. Uh, otherwise, it's just completely useless. Crucifix, pretty much you're not gonna find the ghost that way. Um, honestly, I think dots is one of those cases of you shouldn't bother, even though it's better than the ghostwriting book for this purpose. And the only reason is you, like in VR, I think the ghostwriting book's slightly better, but the dots projector is completely trash at finding a ghost room. Like, you basically have to put it on edges of more than one room for it to be even somewhat useful. But the ghostwriting book, you can put it on less rooms on average. So, yeah. EMF reader, probably the best item for finding the ghost room. Basically, you want one or two people on an EMF reader every game. And the people who aren't on EMF readers should honestly either use candles or some other methods. I think the flashlight is usable. Like, it helps you see so you can actually spot stuff for finding the ghost room, but there's definitely better options. Glow stick is in busted as well. So the glow stick, why is it busted for finding the ghost? You can see fingerprints with it if it's a fingerprints ghost. You can see in a small area where the ghost interacts with something, allowing you to kind of get an idea based on sight. And then if it's a demon, you're not risking dying because you're holding something that gives off light. And that's electronic. In this case, it would not be electronic, like the candle. I forgot to mention that with the candle. But I think the glow stick does it better because you can find evidence while also doing that. The mirror is honestly the only reason it's busted is it gives you the exact ghost room that it's currently in. Honestly, I'm gonna put the headcam in don't bother because technically you actually can find the ghost room. It just requires communication in two people, so pretty terrible for it. I'm gonna put the lighter in good only because it doesn't have all the benefits of the candle. It just has the same purpose as the candle in terms of that, and it's only useful for Onryo testing if you want to have an Onryo test with lighters involved. Um, Motion sensor. Actually, I'll put it above the lighter. So the motion sensor helps you narrow down the area that the ghost could be, especially on Nightmare and Professional if it starts to roam. So it actually is good for that. Other than that, it's there. Um, the music box. Like, there is a strat that makes it usable, but it's not really the best one. Like, I feel like Insym kind of uses that a bit too prematurely on average, like I've seen. But he might be using it less on average than I'm seeing. So I could be wrong. He could be using it about as much as I do. The paramic. But basically why the music box I'd say is usable is only because you can do a strategy with it. And on larger maps it's not usable. It actually goes into don't bother. The paramic is good to a certain degree. Like, I wouldn't say it's perfect. Like, it's definitely not foolproof, but it definitely helps. Sanity pills, not used for that purpose. The Ouija board can give you the exact room and so much more stuff. Salt, it's usable for finding the ghost room, but personally, I'd say don't bother using the salt method. Like, there's people who actually avidly place salt in weird areas, and I'm like, how do you even make a guide and then use salt as your main method for finding the ghost? Like, that makes no sense. Um, that is actually just throwing away your salt, which can be used for other purposes like photos. The smudge stick, it really doesn't help with finding the ghost, so I'm not gonna put it. I'm gonna put it there. The sound sensor honestly needs to be buffed. Like, it's definitely better than all of those for finding it, but it gives too wide of an area or doesn't give enough to give you an idea. Because let's say it's in another room, well, you'd have to check the map to see what area it's covering to see if it's potentially in another room, which is why it's so unreliable. Is it needs a smaller area and it needs to not work through walls. Which sounds like it would just be nerfing it, but in reality, it's so much more beneficial information that way. Spirit box, you can track exact location as long as it's a spirit box ghost. That's pretty much all I need to say. Strong flashlight's just better version of the weak flashlight where you can just literally say, oh, I see it, and you find the ghost room. The tarot cards, it's just a RNG whether you can or not. Thermo, as long as you have the breaker on, it's really good. Other than that, it's not the greatest. Tripod, don't bother. UV light, I'd say UV light's like right there. And the UV light has the benefit of you can see where the ghost interacts, but you have a much smaller area than most flashlights, but you can also get an evidence which helps you narrow the area down if it touches something, like a window, a light switch, a door, and you're not sure at first. So yeah. Video cam, I'd actually say is worse than the UV light on average. Now this sounds weird, of course, because I use the video cam and the dots together. But at the same time, like the video cam, if it's an orbs ghost, you actually get the room. It's just orbs are less reliable and harder to see sometimes, so I put it in a tier below like Spirit Box and even Thermo. And the Voodoo Doll, I'm gonna put it in the top of Don't Bother, only because it's like a 10% chance you accidentally start a cursed hunt, in which case you could cause so many problems in the future. So, sorry, the Voodoo Doll just causes too many problems for you. So yeah, this is kind of the tier for the items. Now I'm going to reset this, and we're going to talk about some item sets. So, the best item sets to find the ghost aren't even always using the best items in the game. In fact, it's using combinations of items from good to busted. And sometimes, in some cases, you use both. So, let's start off with a generally good item set for an example. EMF reader, spirit box, and video cam. Why is this generally good, even though there's like one tier item in the tier of good? EMF reader basically allows you to catch a lot more from the ghost interacting with something, even if you didn't hear it initially. The spirit box just allows, obviously, I mentioned it, the tracking the ghost if it's a spirit box ghost. And it's just kind of that way. And then the video cam is your orbs and your sight in this case. So yeah, generally good item set. And let's go with a generally bad item set. So like, let's say sound sensor, um, weak flashlight, and dots projector, for example. This set sucks because you get so little information with the set, or you have to leave the house to get information with the set, so it kind of ends up being bad that way. Because you want to find the ghost as soon as possible, which means you also need to be there to find the ghost and confirm it. This also is a very important thing to distinctly do, is to not use the bad item sets of this, but use a good item set like this. But you should always bring in all evidence items to start, I feel. So like, let's say you want to use a UV light instead of the video cam, that's actually a good idea, I feel. Or, alternatively, you can also go for a photo cam here, and it's still really good, you just lose sight. So yeah, optimal play is kind of interesting. But basically, multiplayer, you're not wanting to use the best single player one either. Because the best multiplayer setup ends up being slightly less optimal than the best single player setup in terms of solo, but in multiplayer it ends up being more viable. So yeah. Sorry, but I'm just somehow feeling like I'm yawning a lot more. I don't know why. But here's another thing, is you can also go glow stick, EMF reader, and spirit box and be good. It's just, what do you value the most when playing Phasmophobia? Like, do you value being able to see in some capacity and find the ghost room? Or do you value, like, finding evidence? So yeah, there's that. Oh my god, I'm apparently really tired. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. But other than that, I think that'll conclude this short first part for explaining how to find the ghost, because there's many ways to find the ghost, and each map is different. So that's why this first part is a little bit shorter and more of an introductory idea to finding the ghost, and what items are good and what are bad. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video for this. Bye bye.